So Moby, we're glad you're here in São Paulo, and we're starting these programs on VegeTv to broadcast messages and about vegan lifestyle. And of course you're an icon as far as animal rights is concerned in the artistic community. So we'd really like to hear your thoughts or your history on how you started on veganism.
Well, I first became a vegetarian, let me think, 25 years ago. And it's funny because when I was much younger, I was playing in punk rock bands, and I had nothing but contempt or disdain for vegetarians, and I used to eat at McDonald's and I ate at Burger King. And then I saw a movie that showed the conditions in factory farms, and overnight I went from being a meat eater who only ate at McDonald's to being a vegetarian. And then a few years passed and I slowly gave up eggs when I found out how eggs were produced, and I gave up dairy when I found out how dairy was produced. And that was about 25 years ago. And so I've been involved in the animal rights movement and the vegan movement for about 25 years.
And we've been to Brazil 2 times this year, twice this year. And how do you like the Brazilian vegan food? How does it compare? Of course, in the US you have much more technological resources, so to say. Like you were just telling me,
like the
vegan cheese, diet cheese that melts. But still, how you ate at vegan restaurants in Porto Alegre and in Brasilia. What's your opinion about how we're doing with vegan food here?
Well, it's interesting because it seems like there are 2 types of vegan restaurants in Brazil. There are some that are more, let's say, like older and maybe more attached to like a yoga school, and then there's newer restaurants like your restaurant, which seem like they're much more motivated by people who are in the animal rights cause, in the movement. And what's interesting is, like a big city like São Paulo, I would expect to have a really good vegan restaurant, which luckily we do.
Thanks.
And but I was in some of the smaller cities, like Porto Alegre, Curitiba, Brasilia, and I was really surprised that there were vegetarian and vegan restaurants there, and they were all really good. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense because Brazil, of course I don't live here, but Brazil is such a huge country and it's becoming such a wealthy country, and also such a country with such a connection to the environment. And so it seems like people would be so much more aware of the environmental impact of food production, especially when you look at issues like deforestation for cattle ranching. So yeah, it makes me very happy that there's so many great vegan restaurants in Brazil and so many passionate people involved in the movement.
And you try the feijoada today, right? That's a traditional Brazilian dish, and most people would think, well, that's something you couldn't make vegan because it's made with pork pieces.
Well, it's interesting, like feijoada in Brazil and in France, there's a dish called cassoulet, and in some ways they're quite similar, where it's like traditionally beans and pork and whatever meat they could find, just throw it in. And both cassoulet and feijoada, it seems like with whether it's textured vegetable protein or seitan or tofu, you can make a really very authentic, really good feijoada. Right. We released it. My friend Mian Park, she used to work at the Humane Society, and now she works for Global Animal Partnership. And she and I put out a book called Gristle. And what it does is, Gristle's interesting because it's not a vegan book. It's a book about animal production, and it's more academic. And we wanted to sort of show the ways in which animals are produced and the consequences of animal production, both environmental, health, cultural, social. But we put it out, almost everybody in the book who's contributed is vegetarian or vegan, but we really wanted to make it just sort of like an academic resource to present people with facts and let them make up their mind.